Hello and welcome to another episode of Value in the Community. My name is Irene Abumbiade, I'm your host. Today I've got with me 4 gentlemen, and today we'll be discussing the topic of fatherhood. What is the role of a father? Who is a father? What are the responsibilities of a father? Is this role learned, or is it something that you can just walk into? All this and many more we will be finding out today with these gentlemen who have agreed to come on the program today and answer our questions on the role of fatherhood. It gives me great pleasure today to welcome Pastor Michael Agumbiade. Pastor Michael, you're most welcome on today's program.
Thank you very much.
I've also got today Brother Lekon Abioye. Brother Lekon, you're most welcome onto today's program. I know it's very early where you are in the US at the moment, but thank you for allowing us to wake you up and join this program this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Lekon Abioye. I'm a husband and a father to 3 wonderful children. And by the grace of God, I profession in the field of cybersecurity. I'm very happy and glad to be on this panel today. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. I've also got Brother Anthony Fiokoro on the program today. Brother Anthony, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much. Yes, just like my other brothers have introduced themselves, my name is Anthony Fiokoro. I'm a husband of 1 wife for the past 28 years. I'm also a father with 20 years of experience. I've got 2 daughters. One of them is 20 years old, so I've got some experience for the past 20 years as a father. I'm here on this panel to contribute from my experience and knowledge, in my own estimation, at a very basic level. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. You're most welcome, Brother Anthony. I've also got Brother Ola Patoye. Brother Ola Patoye, you're most welcome. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to participate in this great session. And as our host has introduced me already, my name is Olakunle Solomon Patoye. By the grace of God, I'm married to a singular wife, and that's been for like 15 years now. And as God will have it, I've also been blessed with a daughter and a son who are a bit grown now. So as new as I am in this journey, I'm still very fresh at it. I'm still learning. So, but I believe the little I've learned might be able to contribute to this session. So I'll be happy to participate as much as I'm allowed. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for that introduction. And also thank you, of course, for coming on the program today. We are hoping that through today's session that we'll be able to learn more about the role of fatherhood and what it means to be a father. A lot of times we find that men do not partake in discussions such as this. So this is a really great privilege. It's a great opportunity for even women out there, not just men, women, youth, everyone, to find out what you are really thinking about, to find out what you think, how you see things, and that would also help us to be able to understand your role better and to know how we also can, how we can complement what it is that you do as women. The first question I want to ask you today is, what is the role of a father to you? What is the role of a father? What are the things that a father does or a father is supposed to do? And of course, I expect that all of you will be drawing from your own personal experiences. What is the role of a father? And I'll come to you first, Brother Lekon. What is the role of a father? What are the responsibilities of a father?
Oh, well, what are the roles of a father? From my perspective, I want to believe that roles responsibility kind of like intertwine with one another, but I will do justice to both of them, one way or the other. The role of a father is a very, very significant one in a home, not in a house now, in a home where you have a mother and children, or irrespective of whether there are children or not. A father, one of the roles that a father assumes is the role of leadership in the home. He is also I would say, the chief security officer of the home. He is a provider, just like the Bible tells us in, I believe, 1 Timothy 5:8, that a man who cannot provide for his family is worse than an infidel. So apart from that, I also believe that the role of a father is to show love towards his wife and children, and of course, just the same way Christ has loved the church. Another role I believe is to be a man of strong faith, and also brings his children up in the way of the Lord, as we have in Proverbs, I believe, 22:6. And lastly, also letting them know the right way or the wrong way, kind of like being able to help them differentiate between right and wrong in the way of the Lord. So that is, in a nutshell, what I would term as some of the numerous roles of a father in a home. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Brother Ola, what is the role of a father? What are the responsibilities of a father?
Thank you so much for this question. And I'll just simply put it in, just like Brother Lincoln has mentioned, a very short definition that I have come up with over the years, and from all the experiences I've had, I simplify into these 4 P's, and that is the priest, the protector, the preserver, and the provider. Just like what he has also said, I mean, it's more or less like if you cannot see yourself as somebody who leads the family to the altar where there is prayer, where there is other activities that relates to knowing who God is in your life, then that role as a father will be missing in the life of everybody in that home. And then secondly, the person have to protect. I mean, if you have a daughter, for example, automatically you're already thinking of so many things around that person. And you are also going to be thinking from the angle of making sure the person is in the right atmosphere, right environment, right activities, and things like that. So that is part of the role of the father, to the best of my understanding, and the same for the son. And then as a preserver, you have a legacy that you brought from experiences of the past, maybe from your childhood or everything. There are some things you want to pass on, and in some way you are going to be laying it down for your family and everybody involved in that unit to be thinking of as they live their life. And lastly, as a provider, definitely all your work is all about making sure provision is made in the house so that there is no lack. I mean, clothing, food, even the Bible makes it very clear that if you have food and you have clothing, you should praise God. So that's my own way, simple, practical way of applying the role of a father into everything that I do. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Brother Ola. I'm going to come to you now, Brother Anthony. What is the role of a father?
Okay. I'm going to try as much as possible not to repeat what my other lovely brothers have said. Okay, so I'm going to add more P's to what Brother Ola has just listed. The first P will be planning. I think the role of a father is to plan. To plan, to give comfort zone to the children, to the wife, to have a vision, developmental support for the children as part of the planning. Basically, a father's role is to do both short, medium, and long-term plan for the family. They should have that capability. The second P I'm going to add is, actually I have so many P's, but I've noticed that my other brothers have tapped into those areas. Second P will be praise. We should be able to praise our children for the little or much that they do. The external environment out there is a very brutal one. It's a very harsh one. And they are so much under pressure, especially our children. So when they get beaten, in quote, outside, they should not come home to be beaten again. And psychologists have proven that those children who hear so much praise, even in their moments of weakness, tend to develop better. So as father, one of our roles should be actually to praise. Another P I want to mention is participation. We are all very busy as fathers, but one of our roles, no matter how busy we are, is to get involved in the lives of our children in a very practical way, spend special quality time with them. It could be their schoolwork, it could be their sports work, but we have a responsibility, no matter how simple or complex, to participate in the lives of our children. I'm making a lot of effort not to repeat what has been said before. So the last P I'm going to add is protection. We have a responsibility to protect our children, to protect our wife, to protect our home. So many examples can be given, but I'll stop there so far.
Thank you very much for that, gentlemen. Pastor Michael, what is the role of a father?
To my own upbringing, the role of a father, my father even taught me about the role of a father. Before I got married, he used to tell me and say, Oriade, for you to be a father, don't think that you are just going to be a father to your son or your daughters. Your fatherhood is in two branches. Number one child of yours is your wife. And he took me straight to Genesis chapter 2, when God created Eve. He said God created Eve for Adam to look after as a shepherd. So that Eve was the first child of Adam before the children. So for you to be a father in the will of God, you must know that you are the chief army staff of that home. Security. And in your security, you just have to let your family, you have to let them see God in you. Because God, our Father. So if they can see God in you, then which means you are in the right path of being a father. Let me stop there.
Thank you very much for that. Gentlemen, you've all spoken about the role of a father and what it means to you. The next thing I want to ask you is this something that you can prepare for? How do you become a father the way that God has, the way God has created you to be? Is this something that one can prepare for? Is it a role that someone can just walk into? Gentlemen, please help us out. And this might be from your own personal experiences. Maybe when you became a father, maybe you knew what to do, or maybe you had to read up, or maybe you had to speak to some people, mentors, or watch some people, how do you prepare for fatherhood? And I'm going to start with you, Brother Anthony. How do you prepare for fatherhood?
From my own experience, I think what prepared me for fatherhood was I was very fortunate to be born again at very early in life, at the age of 13. And shortly after then, as a teenage boy, I played pastoral roles, handling a branch of a ministry, a Christian ministry, within 13 to 15 years old. So I would say during that period, I learned a lot of stuff by attending Christian seminars that were family oriented. I read the Bible for myself, studied the Bible intensively from beginning to the end. And even later in life, as I grew into adulthood, the same pattern followed. Seminars, a family-oriented workshop, studying the Bible for myself, leading the Christian life. And the Bible is full of examples regarding the role of a father, regarding how to become being effective in parenting. So I learned that very early in age, early in life. So I would say, fundamentally speaking, that was the beginning for me. Then number two, one other way I found out to learn more about fatherhood is tapping into your own background, your own upbringing. Okay? To be frank with you, I don't think any family is totally bad as far as I know. So there are some good elements in your upbringing that you can tap into, that you can bring into your family, your fatherly role. So apart from being a Christian and studying the Bible and attending family-oriented seminars as a Christian, you can tap into your own upbringing, the positive aspect of your own upbringing. No matter how bad your upbringing was, I don't think it's totally bad. There must be something good you can bring in as experience. Then number three, and that's where I'm going to stop, it will help, even if you think you didn't have a very good experience, you don't have a Christian background, or you don't have enough knowledge, you can look into your own family lineage and look for a model, maybe an uncle who you regard as a model, and you can learn from that person. You know, it might not even be a Christian or a Bible-bashing Christian. There are many people who are good fathers, who are not necessarily Bible-bashing, and you can learn from them. Okay? These 3 points that I've given you are actually things that I've used myself. So I'll stop at that point.
Thank you very much for that. Brother Ola, I'm going to come to you next. How did you learn this role of fatherhood? Was it something that you just grew up naturally into, or did you have to learn? What's your own opinion?
Thank you so much once again for the opportunity to tackle this question. And just like what my brother has already mentioned, it's a practical way, that's Brother Anthony, it's a practical way of looking at the role of fatherhood from my own understanding or most of what I've seen. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm still new at this, still learning as much as I can. And I brought into this experience everything I have already seen from my parents. And being born into a family where my dad is a reverend, and he moved from different experiences. We have places where he's always doing different counseling and things like that. So we watch what other families have also shared, or what they have come around to show us, or what their own life has been. And all of that adds up to the experiences we've had in our own house as a family. So it's part of what has been built into one, like personal experiences that one can bring into fatherhood. But if I must also say that nothing can prepare you or prepare someone perfectly for the role of being a father, or this fatherhood topic that we are tackling today, in the sense that there's so many things that are brand new that I've never seen until coming into this experience. And I like to take things from the perspective of practical life, not just theories, because you can read so much, which is very important to read. It's very important to also know Bible stories, all the experiences what I've had from the Bible itself over the years. But then you come to the real scenario of life where you actually have a wife and you have your own children. You discover that what you are reading many a times may not necessarily be what you will remember when circumstances of life come to you. So it's critical to know that, yes, you have past experiences from your parents and maybe other families and other siblings and experiences that people have been teaching you. But you must be prepared for all the surprises and the different scenarios of life that will also come at you in your own peculiar way. And as a father, you can say you are prepared. You've read books, you've done all kinds of seminars, you've watched all kinds of tutorials, but still have that preparation for unknown surprises that's going to come. So yes, you can prepare for fatherhood, but you must also know that it's a continuous process. It's something that we are going to be experiencing as we go. Regardless of how long it's been, there will always be a new curve that will come up that we are going to discover and have to approach with a different view to life. So I feel like that's one thing I can add to what my brother has already said. It's good to prepare, it's good to read, it's good to have experiences from our parents, but it's also good to prepare from the understanding that things are going to be different from whatever you may have learned over the years. So that's my own way of looking at fatherhood in terms of preparation, in terms of whether you can learn it or you can totally prepare for it. That there's practical scenarios you are going to deal with that will make you even better over time.
Thank you very much for that. Pastor Michael, I'm going to come to you next.
Thank you. I think the role of the father is something you need to learn. And subconsciously, I've been learning this probably since age 5, since they've put me into the school of the prophets. And even when I was growing up, I didn't have much of my age mates as friends. I have adults as friends. And I always go to their houses to see the way they were behaving and all that. And also my father as well, even though there is no quantity of time, but we spent quality of time together. And most of the time, all that he will be telling me was, look, in the future, you need to be a father, you need to be a shepherd. He will also be reminding me of so many things that I need to do in life. So while I was growing up, I was looking at all the good role models, even the ones that were not doing well. They will tell me straight away that, look, this thing that I was doing is no good. Don't do it. I mean, I had a family friend with about 4 wives, not to talk about my father. And 2 of them would be saying, look, you are to have only 1 wife. So do not copy this. And along the line, being trained to be a shepherd, I've been trained that as a shepherd, you are father to everyone. So the role of fatherhood is something that you need to learn. You are not born with it. No, a true man doesn't even want to take responsibility. We just want to be mommy's pet. But when you know that, yes, you really want to be a father, a true father, then you have to learn it.
Thank you very much for that. Brother Leko.
Well, this is a very big question. And just like Brother Olas said, actually, there is absolutely nothing that can really prepare you for this task. When I was growing up, there's this adage that says that, and usually it's been said to the women folks, right, that your husband's house is a school, and you don't stop learning. So basically, nothing I can categorically tell you now, except you make a conscious effort. So, and I will talk from my own perspective. The first thing, just like Brother Anthony said, is to learn from others. You learn from other siblings, uncle, friends of yours, just like Pastor Michael also said, and watch closely. But you see, the ultimate way that you want your family to look like boils down to you. It's what you want to make of it that will actually surface, right? When I was growing up, I can categorically tell you now that I grew up under the roofs of 3 fathers. My biological father, who is now late, my mom's uncle's family, who is also now late, and my aunt's husband, who is still very much alive and is in Lagos today. Now, I was being transferred from one family to the other, not because my dad couldn't provide for us. Of course, it's very well to do, but by virtue of the kind of love that my uncle's wife has for my mom, she kind of like wants to transfer that love to me. And so I lived with them when I was in I believe my primary 4. And I was with them up until I finished my secondary school education. Then I moved down back to my own family, my biological family. And I see how things work with these 3 different phases of family that I was blessed to live with. And I learned a lot from each of them. Now, being prepared, well, maybe I prepared, maybe I didn't, but I just felt that, well, at some point I have to get married, and what do I really want to get out of it? What do I want to make out of it? The first thing is that to prepare for fatherhood, you have to make a conscious effort. You have to make a conscious effort and personal one to prepare. No amount of, like I said earlier, no amount of preparation will actually prepare you for things that you probably meet in reality. Now, one also have to be very prayerful. You see, we have no power of our own, and without God, we can not amount to anything. You have to be prayerful. So part of being consciously preparing is also seeking the face of God. Number 1, on who to marry. Someone like me, I'm not the kind of person growing up in my youthful age, known to be around girls or ladies, so to say. So I take my time. It is one at a time. You see, it's one at a time. I'm not that kind of person that keeps like 2, 3 girlfriends. So, and let us be real here now. And when I knew that, okay, it is time, I knew it was time. And I seek the face of God. I seek the face of God. And I mean, to the glory of God, I married my wife, the one God has appointed for me. And I had no problem in waiting for her for 3 years, if, of course, you understand what I mean. When you go to a lady, okay, this is it, and she bounced you tend to go away. Then I went back and said, okay, this is what I've committed to God's hands. And this is what it is. Another thing to prepare for fatherhood is to be teachable. You have to learn to listen to others, because it's going to help you one way or the other. Because if you have a better half and you are the kind of person that, it is my way or the highway, it's not going to work. You would soon, at no time, get into a roadblock at no time. Then one also have to be very humble. Humility is very key. Humility is very key. So if you are talking about being preparing, one have to learn to be humble. Humility is key. Let's pocket those ego. I mean, that is what men are known to. But at some stage in life or in your marriage, you will learn to pocket those ego. I must confess to you, you will learn to pocket those ego, especially if you have a focus and you have a vision for your family. Another thing is to be very loving and show care. Because if you cannot show that to even people around you, it might be difficult to show it to your wife, or children, quote and unquote. And also, like I earlier said, learn from others. It's going to help. I'm still learning. I'm still very young in marriage, and things happen. I happen to be a better person than the first day I said I do today. So, to the grace of God, I will summarize it by saying that we cannot prepare enough, but it's even worse not to even prepare at all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, gentlemen, because what I'm hearing from you is that you are all using the word learn a lot. You're all saying that you are learning, even some of you from the age of 5, you are already learning for this role that you didn't know what it even entailed. So there's a lot of learning going on there. And you've even said, in fact, practically all of you have said that you're still learning, you're still growing, you're still, so it's like it's an ongoing process, if I hear you correctly. And that's really insightful. That's really great. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us. It's really great. The next thing I want to ask you is that, is there a difference between parenting today and parenting at the time that you were growing up? In your own opinion, is there a difference between the way we parent today and the way that during when you were growing up as young men, the way that your parents or the parents were parenting at that time? What do you think? And this time I'm going to start with you, Pastor Michael.
Thank you. Parenting in my own time was totally different from now. During my own time, it's not only your biological father that is your father. It's not only your biological mother that is your mother. Everyone that loves your father is your father. Because if you're not doing something well, they will chastise you. And when you are doing something good, they will praise you with gifts. So during our own time, parenting is like everybody is looking for your own goodness. Your father, your uncle, your father's friends, and all that, they will be part of your training ground during our own time. But today's age, if you want to say you want to correct another man's child, that man might even turn you to be an enemy. So it's somehow difficult this day, unless by the grace, special grace of God, that some parents will accept some other men to be a father figure alongside with him to help bring up their own children. So the parenting of our own time, I'm not going to say it's far, far better, but I would say it's got its own positive side more than today.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you. I'm going to come to you next, Brother Anthony. What's your own opinion about parenting today?
Okay, I'm going to put it this way. There's something that is constant, at least by psychologists, they say. It is constant today that the child of today continues to have the same yearning for parental or fatherly love, fatherly care, and fatherly proximity. That hasn't changed. In the time we were growing up or we were being brought up, and it hasn't changed today. The child of today still have needs for those three elements. But something has changed today. The child of today now has easier access to information compared to our time. Okay, more access to information, good information, bad information, and ugly information. And that places pressure on our children. Okay, so that's number two. So that has changed. Easy access to ugly information, terrible information is unbelievable. Which means that there's so much pressure on our kids. There are different forces pulling them to do the wrong thing and sometimes to do the right thing. More pressure on our children means more pressure on fathers of today. It means we have to learn the art of discipline in the context of where we live, the environment we live, and also how to forgive our children when they go on the wrong side. Okay, when you discipline, you have to be careful about the laws. Discipline does not necessarily mean you have to smack your child. There are different ways to discipline. You can research that. As I said earlier on, my input is going to be just at a basic level. So I believe there are commonalities between when we are growing up, and there are differences as well, which creates a different burden on fathers of today.
Thank you very much for that. That's quite insightful. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'm going to come to you now, Brother Lekon. What's your opinion about parenting today as compared to parenting when you were growing up?
Well, while there are stark differences, there are various and many similarities. One thing that will never change depending on the father, who is the subject that we are talking about today, depends on the kind of love and affection that you have for your wife and your children. Growing up, by the grace of God, I happened to be the first among the family of 9. That is my mom, my dad, and I have 6 other siblings. Our parents loves us dearly, so that hasn't changed from what it was then and today. One other thing that I believe kind of like I find out that is now sort of like a norm is that between the man and his wife, so I will use my own parent, my biological parent, as an example. I can see that the relationship between man and wife, now again, depending on the subject, which is the father, it's a bit different from my own perspective. I mean, now you have man and his wife walking, necking, hugging, holding their hands, holding themselves, walking together, and all of that. I didn't see that when I was growing up. I didn't see that when I was growing up. Yes, not to say that my dad didn't love my mom, no. But I believe it was just the way the society or the culture, or as the case may be, kind of like put it. And that leads me to the fact that we'll find out that then we have men marrying more than one wife. These days, I don't think, just to give an example, my classmates now in the university, I kind of like just stumbled on Facebook one day, and I saw him flaunting that he just got married to a second wife. I was like, I told my wife that people still do this, and it's, I mean, but it is what it is. So those are some of the differences growing up. Parenting, I don't think parenting has really changed. It's just that maybe the availability of information, just like Brother Anthony said, kind of like puts men of nowadays more on our toes, because you have to level up. You cannot imagine the level of information and the way our children are gulping those information, good or bad. So you have to make that conscious effort to level up and kind of like censor, I mean, to the best of your knowledge, censor what you want to give to them, because I mean, the truth of the matter is you cannot 100% kind of like do that. So those are some of the differences. And another thing is submission. Like I said, I was raised by 3 fathers, right? And I have an example for each of them. My own biological mother works. I know her to be a teacher, so she goes to work and come back. Unlike one of my fathers, whose wife did not work at all. And I know the differences between those families. And you can see that then it is a man and wife relationship was like a master-servant kind of a relationship, which is what was then, but now is different. And also submission in terms of wife submitting to their wife. I can tell you that maybe during our own mothers were like, they were submissive, I would say to some extent, to a fault. Because the truth of the matter is, maybe talking from my own perspective, I would not want to get married to a lady that will only carry out my bidding. I mean, I want a companion, I want a confidant, I want someone that I can ask questions that we can rub minds together, not that, okay, this is the way, this is how we are doing it. And so those are some of the differences between then and now. And so I would kind of like leave it at that point. There's so much to say, but because of time, I'll leave it at that point for now.
Thank you very much, Brother Lekon. Brother Ola, what's your own opinion between parenting then, when you were growing up, and parenting now?
Thank you so much. And I would just like to say a little more to what has already been said. There's not much to add, because most of what needs to be said have been covered. And I would just simply want to come from the angle of practicality, like I mentioned earlier, that for one, I noticed that many of the things I grew up with are extremely different as it is today, just like what has already been mentioned in terms of maybe technology, in terms of access to information, and in terms of what we knew compared to what the world is doing right now. So the simple way I will put this is, it's not very straightforward to just bring in what one has known into the world of today and say, this is how it has always been, and I'm going to do it that way. So it means there's a lot of room for adaptation to what we are having in the world today. And that adaptation means you have to change your approach to fatherhood as well. In the past, for example, we used to have just one screen, one TV, for example, one television in the center of the sitting room, where everybody have to come to watch whatever has to be seen. But in the world we're living in today, everybody have either a tablet, a phone, a device in their own room. And that has changed. You can't just tell everybody to come to the sitting room, because they will simply think, what you want to watch there, I can watch it in my room as well. So that's in a way, is part of us changing the landscape of fatherhood to some extent. So there's no one way to control everybody. There has to be an adaptation required to make sure that in the world we live in today, you're not just having the mindset of 1980 in 20 so number of years that one is in. One of the key other things I want to add here is other people's idea, other people's philosophy of how they are raising their own children or managing their own house. It's very common where you will hear other, especially in the Christian or in the believers' world, where everybody have an opinion on how they think you should run your own environment in your house or in your family. And it's one of the problems that I can say people fall into. One of the challenges we have to deal with. It's critical to be able to have, like we started with, a role model for your own system, for your own environment, what you really want to do. I'll give you an example, a very direct example. There was a scenario where we had someone come into our house. And as the father, of course, you want everybody to be comfortable, everybody feel at home. But as soon as the person comes in, they can spot a few things that we don't have in our own house, and which is by design, our own choice. Just part of how to control, like Brother Lekon just mentioned, part of how to control information overload. Because we know that that is happening in the world. Out there, everybody have a gadget, they have access to one thing or the other, many of which, if I can say this, are not needed. And personally, I like to scale down on the non-essentials of life and focus on the practicality of what you really need. There are usually not many. Well, it's just like how in the past, you have 24 hours and you have more than enough time to do everything you want to do, and even more time left. But in the day we live in now, it's the same 24 hours, but it seems as if you are catching up with so many things. I mean, there's technology here, technology there, update here, update there. By the time you finish, it seems as if the 24 hours is not enough. And that's scary. So personally, there's this control in the house, not like warlord or somebody like that, but just to make sure that you only have the basic things you need. Anyway, to go back to the story I was just mentioning, the person was in the house and they were like, where is your central TV system? And to some extent, that's part of what we have controlled. We only pick and select what we really need to learn. movies, music, information as we need it, just to make sure that we're not getting this overload of information that we don't need. And one thing I can tell you about that experience is, as far as I can remember, many years now, maybe more than 10 years, the person has only visited our house once. So if you look at it from that perspective, that experience of one day can change the mindset that we will have as a home. If we now, because of that comment, oh, where is this central system, where is this control system, and we change everything around us, we are going to be following the opinion of that person, which is just a one-day interaction. And that's like peer pressure, that's like opinion of others that can control our own environment. Now we get something, in some houses you enter and you discover that they have a screen that is bigger than the sitting room, an example of information systems that they don't need. And there's nothing wrong with those who know how to manage it, but for us, we have decided that what we want to use have to be simple, very basic, and very elementary for living a godly and a successful, a complete life. It doesn't have to be extravagant, but in the past, that was easy to manage because you can't even have, many of the gadgets we have today are not existing then. But now, it's something that one must pay attention to and scale down. So the practicality is what I see that has changed. The practicality of having something simple in the past, but now it's ordinary phone in the past used to be just one function, and that's to make phone calls. But in the day we live in now, a single phone can have 13 trillion functions. And if you don't scale it down to the basics, that's part of where the 24 hours will go. And then it will be another bottleneck. So the changes are numerous, but it's just bringing it back to the basics. I've got 24 hours, I've got 10 people to reach, I've got 10 family members to work with, I've got my husband, I've got my wife, I've got my children and their friends. Simple things to manage. And then one can see life becoming as manageable or as simple as possible. So fatherhood to me, from that aspect, has changed. If I look at it from that angle, fatherhood has changed. I'll give this other example and I will pass the mic back. And that's the fact that there's this scenario I saw on the program in the past where the person was describing managing the children at home with this issue of gadgets and time management. And the person was saying he's going to develop a software and an app and a device that will control the TV system. In other words, the children will have to come with a coin and ask for the time that they want to use. So he will put that coin inside the system, and then when the coin, the time that coin allows the child to play is complete, then the TV is going to switch off. And I was thinking, when I was growing up, you don't have to make it that complex. You are creating a software, creating a device, creating a coin system in a house. When in my own growing days, my dad just have to tell me, get up from the front of that screen, and the TV is switched off. So that is changing a lot of things in the world we live in today. You want to buy a phone for the child, then you are having a software to manage the screen time again. When you can simply say, that phone, give it to me, put it on the table, and the child goes out and play outside. This is my own simple way of seeing that things have changed, and I just feel like mentioning the practicality of changes. That was just like my brother also mentioned, and Pastor has also said, a lot has changed, and we just need to deal with the practicality of it and make it simple for ourselves so that fatherhood can be a workable scenario in our world today. Thank you so much, and may God help us.
Amen.